Today on All Dodgers, we're talking Dodgers injury updates ahead of World Series Game 1 on Friday. There's some Freddie Freeman news. There's some hopefully good-ish news on Alex Vesia, Brusdar Graterol in there, a little bit of Miguel Rojas, and so forth. We also talked to Dr. David Chow. He is known as ProFootballDoc here on the internet, does a lot of football-related injury updates here on YouTube, on other podcast platforms. He is part of the Believe network of podcasts, just like this show is, but we get his thoughts on whether or not some of these guys should be trying to get themselves out there and perform during a World Series. But anyways, all that is coming up on another edition of the All Dodgers podcast. First, my name is Clint Pasillas. Find me as Real FRG on the Twitter, on the Instagram. I'm a longtime baseball writer. I've been talking about baseball here, Dodgers specifically here on the YouTube for a very, very long time, including now on this channel, which is my YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe. Please give the video a like. If you hear good news, give it a like. If you hear bad news and you want the Dodgers to win or something like that, just like me is the point of all of this. But yeah, quickly, let's talk a little bit about what has come out of Dodger Stadium today before we welcome Dr. David Chow, because I did, full disclosure here, I did talk to Dr. David before recording this part of the video, and what he has to say, I agree with the Dodgers are saying some little bit different things, particularly with Vesia, particularly with Brusdar Graterol in their recovery from shoulder injuries, right shoulder inflammation. They want to pitch. He's saying, Dr. Chow, maybe he's saying it's not the greatest idea. Maybe you find a way to kind of pitch through it, but we'll get into all of that. But the good thing is, according to Dave Roberts, particularly with those two guys, Vesia and Graterol, who arguably are the two most important pitchers the Dodgers could add ahead of facing the Yankees in Game 1 here at Dodger Stadium on Friday. They're both, quote, trending in the right direction, which is, I guess, what you want to hear. You do have a Miguel Rojas update where he is another guy who's trending in the right direction. I think you still need to figure out if he could run, if he could, do some lateral movement there at the shortstop position, because if he's going to have any value to this team, it's either going to be off the bench in a pinch hitting role and then somebody has to run for him, or you leave Kevin Kiermaier on that roster and cross your fingers and hope for the best. The biggest one, Freddie Freeman, continues to work, continues to be 1 day, 1 hour, 1 minute further removed from that ankle injury. That's one guy I think we feel pretty confident in saying could be and should be in the starting lineup for Game 1 of the World Series. But without further ado, before we get to welcoming Dr. David Chow with us, I should tell you about Bet Online, because, guys, we're baseball fans here, but it's also time for basketball fans, because it's that time of year again. The NBA season is back, and from opening tip-off to buzzer beaters, all that kind of stuff, BetOnline has you covered with the best odds, biggest promotions, and live in-game betting on all of your favorite teams. Hopefully you're a Lakers fan, because I am a Lakers fan. But this season, every game matters. BetOnline has every stat, matchup breakdowns, even live odds to bet on during the games. And if it's not just the NBA, BetOnline has odds for football going on, our MLB playoffs, NHL. There's political props, as I've told you here on the channel. So head to the website today, get in on the action with America's most trusted site for online wagering. BetOnline, the game starts here. And let's welcome in Dr. David now. Joining us today is Dr. David Chow, a.k.a. the Pro Football Doc. You guys should know him on the internet. He was a head team physician for the Chargers for nearly 2 decades. He is a board-certified orthopedic surgeon with a focus on sports medicine, so he definitely knows the things he's going to be talking about here on the show. You can find him, I think it's every week, as a shining star of the Sports Injury Central podcast, part of the Believe network, which is how we are connected here. There you break down all the common injuries, things that fans need to know about, ACL tears, concussions, and especially with us today, maybe some ankle injuries, a little bit of rotator cuff stuff in there, some shoulder inflammation. So first, Doc, welcome to the show. And second, you spent a lot of your professional life on the football side of things, or at least pro sports side of things. Where does baseball rank for you, and all the fun injuries associated with baseball?
Well, first of all, I have spent some time doing baseball, helping with the Minnesota Twins and Chicago Cubs. And I go by Pro Football Doc because I have 17 years as a head team physician. I can't claim that in baseball. But as an orthopedist, I can. Yes, I've worked with the Cubs. I've been a game physician for them and helped the senior guys. I wasn't the senior guy there. And same with the Twins, work spring training and other things. So I have some baseball knowledge. And then the other disclosure is I'm a Padre fan. I live in San Diego. I grew up a Dodger fan.
Well, thanks for stopping.
I grew up in LA. Look, Tommy Lasorda, even back to Walter Alston days to, and way too old. I'm way too old for you. The players are way too old. You probably don't even know what I'm talking about. But, I mean, it was Ron Say, Davey Concepcion, Lopes, and Garvey, right?
Of course, Garvey.
I mean, that – and, and then a lot of the players – Fernando Valenzuela when I grew up. So I'm a big Dodger fan growing up, but I've lived in San Diego for a while now. My son, who's 11, loves the Padres, and so we're Padres fans now. But full disclosure there.
Hey, you know what? If you're looking at that record-setting infield you mentioned there, Garvey, Say, Lopes, Russell, you got to have a lot of good luck on the injury side of things to keep guys together that much for 8.5 years. So appreciate the disclosure. Good to know that at least somewhere deep down you are a bit of a Dodger fan, and you've got to have. I'm sure it's a little bittersweet of a World Series for you. The Dodgers do take down the Padres there in the NLDS, thankfully for Dodgers fans. But, they do so losing some pieces, do so with some injured pieces as we now trend towards the World Series here. I know the biggest name is Freddie Freeman. Did get a little bit of an update today from Dave Roberts where the hope is, as we expected, he will be in there game 1 of the World Series on Friday, dealing with a grade 2 lower ankle sprain. I don't know if you saw the injury. Did not look.
We saw it in real time. The last week of the season, of the regular season, and
that's right.
I said then he'd be back for the playoffs. He wouldn't necessarily be 100%, but he'd be back for the playoffs. Inversion left ankle sprain is what he had when he turned it. It looks worse than it is, but it does linger a little bit. And by the way, I love Dave Roberts. He's got big San Diego ties, so we're okay on that one there. No, I'm just joking around. Love the garb. I don't know how his political race is going. I mean, he's a little bit San Diego and LA, right?
Yeah, he's taking the votes wherever he can get them right now as the election comes up. But we don't want to piss off any people with election talk here on the YouTube. That's a whole.
That was baseball. It was neutral, right?
Yeah. There you go for sure. But
in any case, I always thought he would come back and play. The interesting part is, I get it. He plays first base, but quite honestly, for most teams, Freddie Freeman would have been back at the DH spot. But you all don't have room at the DH spot. That
they made a pretty good deal.
Occupied. I mean, with Shohei Ohtani there. Obviously, he's really great, and because of the Tommy John, and he's rolling hot. I mean, that's why you sat him game 6 there because. Okay, move Max Muncy over. You got Kiki Hernandez, who's hot, and the whole deal. And you got Sean Manaea, another San Diego guy. I texted Sean Manaea. I'll admit I texted Sean Manaea beat LA before his start. But,
hey,
full disclosure here.
I appreciate that.
But matchups. I don't think it's like Freddie Freeman. Is he 100%? No. Is he going to play? Yes. Can he play? Yes. But he hasn't fully recovered in the sense that he's not back to full Freddie Freeman yet. So it's sort of modified Freddie Freeman. And so Dave Roberts is making these game matchups to give him a spell and be smart, be a smart manager. So he's going to play in the World Series, but depends on how hot he is. Hernandez has been very hot. You got to find a spot for him.
Yeah, I mean, they were able to find
obviously, so it's just a natural switch right there.
Yeah, you're able to find a little bit of a lane there, benching Gavin Lux against a left-handed pitcher in Manaea. But, yeah, that initial report, they say 4 to 6 weeks with an injury like this. I mean, is this one of those things you can further aggravate by playing on it? They also said, there's a bone bruise in there, or is it more just, tough it up, and like they said in the first game, he's loaded up on medication and hope for the best and hope the bat catches up to where it usually is.
Here's the big difference in general when you talk about sports. In football, 85% healthy is a good day, especially when you're in week 8 of the NFL season. Okay, everyone's got bumps and bruises. Baseball isn't that way. You're wired, not that baseball players are softer, you're wired to be closer to 100%, certainly for pitchers. And I'm sure we'll get to some pitchers, right? Yeah. If you're 90% healthy in a pitcher, you're not pitching, right? In a football player, you're 90% healthy, like, oh, it's a good week, let's go. Hitters can be affected too. Baseball is a longevity sport, and for the most part, the injuries are more overuse. Whereas football, the injuries are more collision in nature.
Yeah.
I mean, Chris Godwin last night, most people saw that ankle, or Deshaun Watson with this big Achilles tendon rupture. Baseball is more the overuse. Freddie Freeman's ankle is one of the few ones, but left ankle is better. Why? He's a left-handed hitter. He doesn't need to roll over on its front foot. It's more back foot. And quite honestly, running the bases, it's the outside leg, right? Your right side that you're really trying to hit the corners of the bags and go on. And so it helps him a little bit, but he's not 100%. So it may be affecting his swing a little bit in some way, et cetera.
Yeah, you mentioned a little bit of Shohei Ohtani in there and the pitching and the Tommy John. I've been somebody, as the postseason has progressed, I was like, I don't know, man. Shohei could sneak up on us and decide to say, F it. I'm going to go out there. I'm going to throw an inning. I'm going to make myself available. About 13 months removed from that second Tommy John, or in this case, I think it was the primary revision with what is that? The internal brace procedure as well. How dumb is that to try to force himself back just under 13 months, has not really had any buildup, has not had, live, hasn't faced pitcher or hitters live or anything like that. Is it just smart for me to shut it down?
No chance, no way, no how.
Dang it.
Okay? I mean, zero. Do you really want to mess with what he's got going on at DH?
No.
First of all. Second of all, do you really want to risk doing something silly here and then him missing him for another year and a half? No. I mean, and would you put any player out there who has a pitch? Look, you texted me a list of a couple other guys. Those guys are the men you mentioned. They're not pitching in the World Series either. They've been out for a while. You're going to make your rehab assignment a World Series inning or two? I mean, come on. Baseball just doesn't work that way. Dave Roberts will have his head on a platter if he thinks that.
Unless it works. It's always a dumb idea until it works. But I agree. Yeah, you don't do that. Plus a $700 million investment. Yeah, you're only paying him $2 million this year, but you're paying this dude a lot of money for a long time.
Yeah, you're not going to take chances like that with what's going on. And there's no way that they're even considering that. There's no possible way. The closest thing they could consider is, okay, maybe we'll put him at a position player out there because for some reason we have to open up the DH spot. Even that, I think, is a little bit of a stretch, right? I mean, they had a situation with Freddie Freeman, and yet he did not go to DH, right? It was still Shohei. I'll tell you, and the other thing is I'll tell you a funny story about Shohei. I went to the last game that the Padres won against the Dodgers with my family, and we scout last minute seats, the four of us. And we were actually in a Dodgers section. And, the Padres were saying, we don't want Dodgers to buy tickets. Mm-hmm. And so the guy next to me, a nice grandpa and his wife and some of his grandkids, and I said, oh, yeah, you got tickets. You didn't get locked out. He goes, well, you're actually sitting in a Dodgers section. It's a Dodger family section. And I said, oh, well, then what I'm telling you is someone in the Dodgers family is scalping their tickets, resell their tickets. And I bought these 5 minutes ago. And he laughed. And then we were talking during the game. Nice guy. I didn't bug him as who's your son. And, I didn't care. And Shohei was up. And we were having a lot of fun, as fans should. I hate this get in fights thing. I mean, we were having a lot of fun giving each other a hard time. And Shohei hits a bomb to center field. And I'm like, oh, no, he hit it out, right? Caught on the warning track, right? Center field, Jackson Merrill. I turned to him and now I know why he leads off. He's got no pop. And he laughed. I thought it was a home run. And he laughed and he said, yeah, but he's pretty fast. I said, yeah, good point. That's why he leads off. I mean, obviously 50-50, the whole deal, right? Have some fun. The other one, I'm talking myself into rooting for the Dodgers here. I don't like it because of the history and talking to you. The other one, huge San Diego ties. We talked about Garvey, talked about Dave Roberts. Chase Edmonds.
Oh, Tommy Edman. Yeah,
Tommy
yeah.
Edman.
Yeah. Hey,
Right,
I can see the chase in there because he does have that kind of Chase Utley tenacity in his game.
No, I say Chase because I'm stuck in football.
Oh, gotcha.
Tommy Edmonds, whose dad actually coaches my son in some baseball at La Jolla Country Day.
Oh, right.
So yeah, there's some San Diego connections.
A lot of connections there. You mentioned some of the guys that I had texted you about. We got some shoulder inflammation on the team. There's some folks saying maybe Joe Kelly could return, maybe a Brusdar Graterol. Both those guys haven't touched a mound in more than a month by this point, with each having right shoulder inflammation. That's a tough spot to be. I know the Dodgers are trying to say they're trying to hope for the best, where maybe they could be available for a World Series appearance. But I'd say feels to me like if it ain't broke, don't fix it with what they got going there in the bullpen. But two, if you're talking about right shoulder inflammation, and it seems to be something that's plagued Graterol all season long, like how much does that really throw off a pitcher's, I guess, repetition?
I think Graterol, Kelly, how are you going to roll the dice like that? You got no rehab starts for them. You can't. You simulated inning, and we're going to put them in the World Series. I mean, that's just too big of a stretch there. And let me tell you something. And I'm not trying to be negative on the Dodgers, okay, but even Alex Vesia. I mean,
that's where I wanted to go to next. With the intercostal.
Look, here's why I can't judge what his intercostal strain is, but I can tell you this: a right intercostal strain for a left-handed pitcher is no bueno. That's the pull side, right?
Yeah.
And maybe in the camera I'll do it right-handed because it gets flipped anyways. I think I don't know. It depends on how the camera works. So assuming this is my left hand, it's actually right, but it's the opposite side that you torque through. Mm-hmm. And if that muscle strain, it throws you all off in all sorts of different ways.
And he's somebody who's so methodical, so very mechanical in his delivery. He's got his full routine. Everything is very calculated and meticulous with him. But he's one guy I could see, trying to roll the dice, this team trying to roll the dice and say, F it, we're going to throw him out there and hope for the best, because, hey, the Yankees, they got some pretty good left-handed batters in that lineup, but still at the same time, I was going to ask, what's the risk of re-aggravation? How what's a usual bounce back and recovery time when something like that intercostal strain, and I appreciate you mentioning the fact that you can get away with the shorter time off if it's the same, if it's your throwing side, but the fact that it is that pull side, I think that it doesn't bode well, even if the Dodgers are trying to say they could be available. I threw a lot at you there.
People a lot. They could be.
Yeah.
I just don't see it. You know what? I would put it this way: as Dodgers fans should hope that you don't see them, because that means you don't need them. The only way that you're going to see them, I believe, is if you're in desperate need. And you don't want to be in desperate need. So if you're rocking what you got, which is what you've been saying, and it's successful, you're not going to be in desperate need to try and do that. Vesia, I guess he's been pitching recently, is the closest one. But look, if this were a regular season, you think he's pitching in 2 weeks?
Absolutely not.
Okay. So are you going to roll the dice like this? No.
I would say I feel that that's the one guy they can get away with at least giving that opportunity. And if he does re-aggravate, it's not something that if he re-aggravates, it's not going to affect him for the next series. There are no next series. It's waiting till spring training again. I think as long as he feels he can go and maybe tone it down a little bit, because he's somebody who basically pitches at like 115%. Some of us are wondering if he actually injured himself celebrating. I think it was a big strikeout there in Game 5 of the NLDS. It seems like you really.
If a player has been successful pitching at 100 or playing at 115%, do you really want that player at 95? I mean, I'm just saying.
Yeah,
do you really?
You're going to get beat, and then
it's just
then the question marks.
And I don't pretend to know Vesia's entire pitching repertoire and his whole deal and whatever. And this is where I admit I'm more of a football guy, as I say, Chase Edmonds instead of Tommy Edmonds. Okay, kind of thing. But yeah, you got good news on Freeman. He'll be fine. The pitchers, Just hope you don't need them. And the Dodgers have outperformed. We do health scores, and Dodgers are not among the healthier teams because of all the pitching issues. And they're outperformed right now. And so enjoy the World Series.
Yeah, there's been a lot of injuries. Last one, Miguel Rojas, sports hernia, torn hip adductor. They're trying. He really wants to make this World Series roster. Veteran, 35-year-old, trying to play shortstop. How dumb of an idea is that?
Well, I mean, you got to look at the timing, whatever. I mean, in some ways, once again, it's desperation. If you got Tommy Edmonds doing well, why are you going to even go there?
Yeah.
If you need it, then maybe, and maybe because he's 35 in an inning or two and whatever. Let me tell you, playing shortstop off of a sports hernia, athletic pubalgia, core muscle surgery is more reliable and less risky than trying to pitch somebody that hasn't pitched, off rotator cuff tendonitis or soreness. So less risky maneuver. That becomes a roster manipulation situation. How's he doing? What can he do? Look, you can put the guy out at shortstop and he might not get a ball hit to him, or gets an easy ball hit to him. Pitching, you got to be at 100% and ready to go and on it from the get-go. One bad pitch, one middle or one hanging whatever, and boom,
there's your season.
Done.
Yeah. Well, I'm hoping we feel really confident. Hopefully, the confidence in Freddie Freeman pans out. I'm hoping some sort of miracle happens, by Friday for Alex Vesia, because those are the two guys you really need available and working, at the top of their game, at the top of their craft, without hurting themselves too much. But hey, this is what you play for, man. You play for the World Series. You'd hate to be that guy on the bench when you feel like you could pitch a little bit or hit a little bit and all that. I mean, I'd go out there. I'm doing this podcast with a bad
mentality. You roll yourself out there. And
yeah.
You can do it at all. It's just not the baseball mentality. And I'm not calling anyone soft. It's just not done that way, especially when it comes to pitching. It's just not done that way. And because of all the potential downsides of what could happen. And it's not calling anyone soft. It's that they have to, in order to be successful, they have to be at such a high tuned level. I mean, they're F1 race cars. They're not Ford pickup trucks,
Yeah, that's fair.
There's a difference.
And 162 games over 81 or over 17, 18 games, all these weeks and all that. Yeah, it makes sense, They just teach you a little bit different in football, but that is Pro Football Doc right there. Doc, I appreciate you hanging out with us, spending a little time sharing some insight, some knowledge into this. When you get some time and you get an open slot, I do have a balky shoulder myself. I'm pretty sure it's a left side labrum. It makes it hard to sleep, but either way, guys, tube in to his podcast, Sports Injury Central podcast. You guys go weekly, right? I think so.
Yeah, we go weekly, and then Twitter, Pro Football Doc, and Sports Injury Central, in-game injuries, all of it. Okay.
He'll keep you up to date. Thanks again, Doc. Appreciate the time.
Thank you, bud.
Once again, shout out to the good doctor there joining us, Dr. David Chow, for joining us here on the channel, sharing some insight and a little bit of his Dodgers and Padres lore along the way. But more updates to come from Dodger Stadium over the next few days. We do have, as of right now, 3 days until Game 1. So hopefully more good news keeps pouring out of Dodger Stadium. But I want to know what you guys think. If Miguel Rojas feels he's ready to go, should Miguel Rojas be on this roster? Do you still maybe want to see Shohei Ohtani pitching just a little bit in the back of your soul? I understand it's a bad idea, but just let me have some fun. Let a boy live a little bit. What do you think about Freddie Freeman? What do you think about Alex Vesia? We talked last night on All Dodgers Live, myself, producer Kevin, about the importance of Alex Vesia in facing this Yankees team. Does he just say screw it and pitch until it gives? I'm wondering. I'm interested in seeing what you guys are thinking out there. But sound off in the comments. Give the video a like if you would not mind. Subscribe to the channel if you would not mind. Please do also rate and review the podcast. It is available on Apple, on Spotify, on all the podcast platforms. If you can leave a rating or a review on there, ideally 5-star rating, nice review, really goes a long way for the network. Also check out Sports Injury Central podcast with Doc the Pro Football Doc every week here on part of the Believe Network podcast. But anyways, I'm Real FRG on the social medias. Appreciate you hanging out with us, and we'll see you again real soon. Okay, bye.